dock. I have come, Tilly, go to the execution block for to sail. I was sick and nigh to death, but I vow with my every breath, forgo with wisdom ways when I sail. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the show. This is Here Be Dragons. I am your host, Stephen Stark, and joining me this week for our conversation is my two standard co-hosts, Nessie and John. Say hello, guys.
Hi, guys.
And we also are very fortunate to have Courtney back with us. Special guest, Chief Science Officer Courtney. How you been?
I've been good. It's good to see everyone. I had to miss for the holidays because we were away. So
family stuff. It's understandable. Yeah. Well, we're glad you're back. We're glad to have you. And I'm just going to lead off with saying this was even more fun to watch the second time than it was the first time. I love this show. So just taking a moment for myself to say how much I love this. Oh, wow. Oh, we lost a lot of viewers when I started singing. That's funny.
Oh, wow. Everybody's a critic.
Yeah, that's fine. They'll come back if they're real fans.
I think they forget you for the soundtrack album, Steven.
Right on.
I don't know why it's not on the soundtrack album.
I'm not a great singer, but I can hit the pitch, so I'm good enough for that for that rendition anyway.
Yeah, can confirm.
So yeah, The Expanse, the last 4 episodes. When I was making notes, I made less notes this time, and I think it might just be because I was so sucked in all over again. I'm
Absolutely, it was a roller coaster ride
for sure.
This whole season, I was just like completely just glued into my seat from one scene to the next. It just clicked.
Yeah, it didn't let up, but this show has a kind of reputation for not letting up.
There's a lot to cram in.
There is. So let me just start with I'm not the majority, but a good proportion of my notes are just about Amos's character progression in these 4 episodes. That shouldn't really surprise anyone, but like, God, he was just fantastic to watch in the back half of this season.
He really was. You really got to see a very inward part of Amos that he doesn't let out very often, and just his vulnerability was showing, and it was just so good.
I agree.
I made a comment to you about this, Stephen, but aside from just, his character, I really enjoyed seeing how close he and Holden are, especially in these final episodes. You really see how Holden depends on him, and they have a very close bond. They're like brothers.
They're like brothers.
Yeah. They're very much like brothers. Yes. And Amos got where he would actually be vulnerable with Holden.
Yeah.
But also this season, I feel.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Like, as the show progresses and as the books progress, we see Holden as more vulnerable. He tends to take the lead in a lot of situations early on, but as everything keeps moving forward, he starts deferring to other characters. It's almost like the more you grow up, the more you realize how little you actually know. And so he realizes that a lot of his success has been based on, these relationships with other people, and that, he can't do it without them at this point. Instead of that like young, headstrong man that thinks he's going to take on the universe by himself, now he really comes to know that it's not just him, and that without his family behind him, he really can't do anything. And personally, I absolutely love that, because this in the books is where LV really comes into her own. I mean, she does in the show as well, but She starts out in the books as this like naive, she's young, she's on her first mission, she's going as like a scientist, this major exciting job opportunity, but she really sees Holden as this all-powerful celebrity. She's seen him on all the news feeds. She feels like she knows him. She feels like he's the hero that's supposed to swoop in and save the day. But instead, she ends up coming into her own, and she ends up being the one that really, she finds herself, she becomes this independent woman, but she's the one that saves the planet in the end. It's not Holden that she is so sure is going to come in and make everything all right. And it ends up that, he can't do it without her.
Right. Well, they can't do anything without one another.
Right.
Yes.
In this situation. They're all very much, their fates are tied together. They have to pull together. It's an apocalypse. The planet is trying desperately to kill them. So the only way that they can survive is to depend on one another.
But we've seen so much in this series about the dangers of space, but we really haven't seen yet the dangers of being on a planet. And we see Earth compromised, and we see, the dangers on Ilus, and those are very real threats as well. It's not just the vacuum of space that can kill you. Like, you can just as easily be destroyed planet-side.
Right. For sure.
It could be a little green microorganism.
Right.
Or a murder slug.
Or a murder slug. Yeah, I wanted to circle back
to tsunami or...
Right. I wanted to circle back to something you said just a second ago, Nessie, which was about how time is, changing their perspective. And Ashford literally has a line where he says, age changes you in ways you don't expect. And it's one of the few lines I actually wrote down verbatim, because I'm just like, oh, that's such a good line. The actual line is, I'm just old. Age changes you in ways you don't expect. My focus isn't as narrow as it once was.
And he has that perspective, being one of the oldest characters that we see on the show. He's seen a lot. He's lived through everything out in the belt, every experience possible out in the belt. And now he's become this, it's changing. The situation is changing in the belt. There's this new political dynamic that he's right in the middle of. He probably never expected to be, this political player when he was just a space pirate picking off, Earther and Mars ships for cargo. But now he's actually a major political player on what happens in and around the ring, and in the outer space, the outer planets.
Right. So, at the risk of going against our chaotic style, do we want to try to go through these semi-chronologically? I mean, I know
otherwise I'm just going to jump right into the big
stuff at the end
that happens at the end. So we should probably make an attempt to start.
Okay. Well, I have very, very few notes for episode 7, which is like the first one we're covering. Literally very few notes, but like one of the big standout things for me is that we can see how uneasy Amos is right from the get-go. Like from his first moment he's on screen, we can see that's not fear, but it is.
Well, it's an awareness of what's probably going to happen.
Right.
He knows human nature.
Right. But then later
humans get desperate.
Right. But later in the episode, when he hears that he's probably going to lose his sight, that's real fear, which he has not felt since he was 5 years old.
Yes.
And that's the last time he says he felt fear, and he was trapped in that dark, dark.
Well, and the rest of that story comes later.
The confined space.
But like, for someone who's so, I mean, we've talked a lot about his psychology, about the way he's very utilitarian, about, his lack of fear can lead to lack of empathy, which, somebody even comments, it's Alex that says, I wish I could live without fear. And he's like, no, you really don't. But then to see him have that moment, you realize how deep a part of that, how deep a part of him that experience really is. It's the only thing that can make him feel fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he comes a long way. I love that they turned his friendship with Chandra Way into a relationship, because that shows us some of his vulnerability. And it's so like Romeo and Juliet or West Side Story, where they're on opposite sides, but they still have so much in common. And
that surprises me that it wasn't the relationship wasn't the same in the books. Because it's so great in the show, because it's such a weird.
It really is. But
well, it is. It's not in his character. He generally, he's said before in the show that he generally doesn't sleep with people that he cares about. But he does clearly come to care about her. Mm-hmm. But I think that they invented the relationship with Bobbie as well. I think it was a device that they had to use, because we get so much inner monologue for their characters. And I think the show really needed them to have someone to bounce these things off of, so that we could see into their thought processes without, without them just constantly talking to themselves. So, I'm all for it.
Right. Well,
it.
John and I were actually having this conversation yesterday, I think, about when you change the medium, things are lost. You just hope that the things you gain in the change are worth it.
Yeah, but they didn't do it in the gratuitous, we're just introducing sex for the sake of introducing sex. Like, they used it as a plot device to give us that insight into their, experiences. And so I'm fully support it.
We really didn't even get, yes, we saw that she was having a relationship with this guy, but the sex part of it, not really there,
No, and that's impressive, because Amazon has totally taken the fact that they can curse and run with it.
Right.
I mean, they really could have taken it like the HBO route of let's just make everybody hot and show a bunch of nudity, but they didn't do that. They used it as a plot device, and I for one, find it to be incredibly effective, because I love getting into the character's psyche. I love that backstory. I love that inner monologue. And there's really no way to do it in the medium of television without it looking forced or without having a voiceover. I mean, and they managed to do it seamlessly by introducing these relationships. And I like it.
Cool. But that relationship doesn't even really show up in episode 7. It looks like we're having some trouble.
I took notes. I thought this was the final summary one, so I more took notes on character arcs and stuff like that.
See, that's cool though. But I like the parallels you're drawing there, and how you're. I think it is important to note things are going to be different from the books, just by necessity. The same thing happened with Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire. Some of the changes were really, really good. Some of the changes were not, but some of the things, you look at season 1 of Game of Thrones, they don't have big battles. They don't have super elaborate fight scenes. There's a scene where Ned gets stabbed in the leg with a spear. Well, in the books, it's at night and he's on a horse and he falls over, but they didn't do it that way because it's dangerous to actually fall over on a horse, and it's more expensive to shoot in the rain, and it's more expensive to shoot at night, and but that scene was still really well crafted.
Well, I think having Ty and David Abrams involved at every level, I mean, they are the top writers for the show besides the man who adapted it. And so having them involved every step of the way really makes sure that we're not missing out. And it gives me that confidence when they make a change, that I know that it's for a reason and that it's going to pay out. And so I kind of, instead of getting up in arms they butchered my books, I'm waiting to see why they made this change and how it's going to move the story forward.
Right, because even as somebody who knows what's coming, those changes, if they're functional in that medium, are going to be enjoyable for you to watch.
And Bobbie has to. I mean, when you see what goes on coming forward with the whole, Mars materials disappearing and, and keeping her an active character in the show, you have to have her have somebody to bounce things off of.
For sure. And that sort of romantic relationship lets her be more open than she would be with a lot of other people too. So
exactly.
I think it works.
Exactly.
I had no idea.
It can't be
that
just
way.
David's little girlfriend because she doesn't have that type of intimacy with her. You know what I mean? It has to be someone that she has come to build trust with. And, one of the ways as human beings that we may start with physical trust and,
Fingers crossed for you, Nessie.
Oh God! Just the continuing saga of the internet story at my house.
Right.
So I'm sorry. Carry on.
So bring us back to episode 7 because I went off on a tangent and lost track.
That's all right, Nessie. Bring up something from episode 7 to talk about.
Oh wow! Put me right in the hot seat.
No, unless
unless John's got something ready to go.
Go ahead, John.
Well, here's the problem. Because I watched episode 7 last night, so I'm all episode 8, 9, and 10 this morning. So, so I'm trying to remember specifically what happened in 7.
Well, again, 7 to me seems like a lot of plot movement.
Right.
A lot of everybody's going blind, and there's these death slugs, and the Barbapiccola's orbit is decaying.
Situation really is.
You're starting to see how bad things have really gotten, which doesn't give a lot of character motion as far as to me. But I say that. No, if you've got something, go ahead. Because when I bring up my next thing, it's going to be a doozy. At least I think it is.
I think this is the episode 2 where Mercury is talking to Way about his ulterior motives on how he's going to get rich by making sure the RCC contract goes through, getting rid of the Belters because he gets a percentage, and he's willing to cut her in on the deal if she backs his play. So there is that. So we see that Way is going to have like this. She's going to have to make a choice, and she does.
And she does.
And I like that the show did that too, because in the books he's very much Mercury is just a company man. He follows orders and he is acting very much in the interest of the company, but introducing that aspect and Way as well, she follows orders. She follows Mercury's orders the same way he follows his orders from above.
But it gives them a personal stake, personal motivation.
Yes, so we understand, what would you be willing to kill for? What would you be willing to die for? And, and we see it with Asai, the man that Bobbie is working for, he is not a bad guy. And prior to this, he hasn't taken these level of risks, but he has a family and he sees very clearly. I mean, he's in on it, what's happening with Mars. And he's like, this is my one shot to get out. And it's, that I'm not throwing away my shot.
Well, yeah. And that whole thing really does show how everybody's jumping ship on Mars. And
several scenes of people it gets put in your face several times how close Mars is to just final collapse.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But with Mercury, I mean, this is jumping ahead a little bit, but I really love that, speech he's giving to Holden in the final, and I'm trying to think, it's not the final episode, it's episode 9, where, he's talking about he's the type of person that the frontier needs. Your kind comes afterwards
when the post office is set up.
Yes, civilization doesn't follow you out there just because you're civilized.
Right.
that really hit home.
I'm going to talk on that when we get to episode 9. I'm going to expound on that idea because there's some meat on that bone.
There's a lot of meat on that bone.
Well, it reminded me, I don't know how many of you've seen Deadwood, but that really kind of brought me back to that. You know, you have all the CD types when things are getting set up. And then with that show, towards the end of the 3rd season, you see civilization starting to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. And so and saw the parallels there. You know, so he's talked himself into, you know, sort of believing that he's, you know, noble in his own way. Well, not noble, but he's a necessary evil. And, you know, he's doing it for, you know, and if he can get rich off of it, you know, so be it.
Right.
Yeah. Civilization is paved in blood, and he's willing to spill it.
I mean, and it's valid, you know, like these are historical parallels that this book is constantly drawing. Like,
sure. It's literally about expansionism with him and like his role in that expansionist regime that is Earth, Mars. Like, I don't know. I think there's a better spot in the live chat to get into it. And
now I'm racking my brain to remember what each episode contained.
That's fine.
We're trying to go episode by episode. But please, when we get to the episode where they go onto Marco's ship, remind me, because the historical parallels there are literally mind-blowing. And the backstory of what he discusses when he's like proposing his plan to people is historically relevant. And
are you talking about when Ashford catches up with Marco?
No, when they send the UN troops onto the ship where...
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah, but he's not in that.
You're right.
Right now, the entire season is a form for me, and I'm having a hard time trying to figure out.
The only time you see Marco in these 4 episodes is the last episode when Ashford goes on.
Marco
when
is
they
not
go
on
looking
the ship,
for him.
but it is still like the ship he's thought to be on.
This is how my brain works. It's in broad strokes, and I'm trying now to like fit it into the schedule.
I got you.
You're talking about when,
just help me stay on schedule, and I've got you with the insights. I
can't wait to hear what you have to say.
She calls the drone strike on Osama bin Marcos.
Yes.
Yeah, and things go sideways there. That's
yep.
Yeah, Avasarala takes quite a few black eyes, and
man.
Yes, she is not having a good week.
And how fitting with her character is that she's been this ballsy, savvy political player, but now there's a new girl on the block who, you know, represents the next generation and has this fresh face and these fresh ideas, and they may be naive, you know, but she is still able to capture the audience. And
I love her message to Nancy Dow that she leaves at the end. I mean, we're not there yet.
See, we are skipping around, but so much so.
I think I'm right, but I hope you are.
Right. Yes. Yeah, that's a great sort of like pep talk that she gives, and it's also
she's smart enough to know that she can't just, you know, I'm out. She needs to still stay.
Oh yeah,
at least a resource for this woman, because she will need her. You know,
she will need her. Earth will need her again.
We are in a situation where, you know, every brain has to be involved. Every idea has to be on the table, and you know, I mean, I've been the Nancy Mao where I don't appreciate the advice of my elders, and then, you know,
I actually think Nancy Gao is pretty politically savvy herself, you know, and she's got a lot of good points. You know, I don't know that I agree with Avasarala in all of her sort of like.
Yeah, I mean, we're inclined to agree because we know her and we love her. And
right.
That's the way it kind of goes when you're watching a TV show. But, you know, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she's always right. I mean,
and Nancy Gow has good, strong points to make.
Mm-hmm.
But she's arrogant and she thinks that her way is the only way. I mean, like, I'm not saying that there isn't a valid
that's not how she
voice.
comes across on the TV show, though.
Yeah.
She doesn't. She comes across as pretty genuine, I would say.
Yes. She's an idealist.
Yeah. She and that might, that's a flaw. Being overly idealistic can be a flaw, but
she sees the problem. She came from basic. She lived on basic. She was raised on basic. She knows the problem from the ground up.
She also knows how to work the system because
and that she got her way up. And she knows the people of Earth are just dying and begging, for opportunity, and she wants to give it to them, but at what cost? So, Avasarala is doing we don't want another Eros. I don't want to send a colony ship out and then everybody dies because of some horrid disease, or, they get taken over by, the ring technology or what have you.
Which is part of why she sent Holden, because she knows Holden will not only
stick his foot in
but yes, but that he will broadcast every aspect to the world, and they will see what a cluster it is, and she wants that.
Yeah,
she wants everybody to see it.
Backfires in the end, though.
And it backfires because what did he do? He pulled a Holden.
Yeah. Holden do what he do. You know what I mean?
He do what he do. And everything turned out, singing Kumbaya at the end, and this worked out great. So it was not the political message.
I love to know what's going through in Holden's head when he's recording that message, because a lot happened while they were out of communication.
Right. A lot.
Hey, let me go through this list of things that went haywire.
So there was this whole eye thing. There was this whole doom slug thing.
Yeah. And Holden thinks that he's learning how to play the game. So he's presenting the positive, story at the end of it, where he doesn't want to panic the masses. So, she's basing her decision to include him on who he's always been and used to be. But he's growing up. I mean, he's becoming a grown, intelligent man who is savvy and, actually capable of navigating this situation now.
Yeah. Holden is definitely not the guy we know from season 1. Not anymore.
Not anymore. He's grown quite a bit in maturity, and he just didn't just get on the radio and start shooting his mouth off immediately when things went sideways. Hello.
Yes, the show has done an amazing job of really letting us watch him grow. I wish that we had the time and the screen time to watch that happen with other characters, because watching it happen to Evie Okoye is really wonderful. She starts out kind of wide-eyed, and by the end, it's what she goes through on Ilus that makes her the competent, driven woman that she will be for the rest of the series.
Right. Well,
we were denied that a little.
She has to have been changed by her experiences, of course.
100%.
It's really interesting hearing you talk about, and sort of reading her character in the book, because, she's a very interesting character on the show. But I do feel like there's a whole, dimension to her arc that is probably only in the books. And
it's hard. I mean, we just introduced a brand new character, and we need to introduce her with the traits that we're going to love. And this show is wonderful at providing us with amazing, strong women. I mean, we are really represented with intelligent and forceful women in the show, and we're lucky for that. But even intelligent, forceful women sometimes start out as wide-eyed little girls with celebrity crushes and naive ideas about the world.
We altered that for the show, because I didn't get her being sort of
well, they took the whole
in awe of celebrity. She seemed more
They took the celebrity crush out of it and had it more like she was more deferent to him because he was the representative from the UN.
But so also she came in a brilliant, determined scientist. And I love that about her. I just had a lot of fun watching her come to that in the books. But you can't do that in a season. You really can't. It takes the backstory. It takes the, insight into the inner dialogue. It takes that.
Again, it's what you lose in translation, but what we gained was all the beautiful visual storytelling, so
yes. Oh my goodness. Amazon nailed that.
And it's not just a matter of, what a trade-off of gaining and losing. The show has its own identity, which is separate from the book. So, her, her story on this is very much, its own thing, separate from the books. So, I don't always see it as a simple, what did we gain? What did we lose? It's, taking on a shape of its own in this medium. So
Amazon with this medium, I mean, the vision, it's so beautiful. I mean, there's no way, no book could provide us with the visuals that we get.
I was hit once again with I was watching, these episodes this morning. I'm like, damn, this really is epic and huge, and it looks fantastic.
Like the things that happen in the books are epic and mind-blowing, but seeing them on screen, maybe it's just my lack of imagination. I don't know, but they are even brighter and better, and
sometimes it is hard.
Fun to watch.
It is hard. I get that sometimes. I think I'm a pretty imaginative person, but sometimes I'm reading a book and it's just tough to visualize things. You get feelings more than pictures.
Yes, and so when oh wow, that's at the end again. See, I'm all out of order. I'm sorry.
You know what? Let me just bring up the thing I wanted to make sure I wanted to bring up, and we'll move on in the storyline, because I can't wait to get to Courtney's part that she needs to talk about so bad.
Oh, it's fine.
But Alex has a moment where he's talking to Lucia about his failings as a husband and a father. And that is not a hero conversation. That is not something that ever gets written. It just doesn't. And as somebody who has a certain amount of emotional baggage tied to not being the best dad and not being the best husband I could have been, especially in my 20s, it really hit home for me. It really did. And
you and I had a conversation about that, Stephen, and when I was rewatching that today, that really stuck with me. What you were saying, and it is, it's a powerful conversation he had,
Oh, it's huge. And in the books, it's Basia who, his son was the one that got turned into Katoa, that got turned into the proto-molecule monster, right?
Right.
And Basia left the planet before that happened, thinking his son was dead, while Prax stuck around trying to find his daughter. And so all of that guilt is there. And Basia is really expecting Alex to give him a pep talk, make him feel better. And Alex does not soften the blow even slightly. And he does the same thing for Lucia. He's like, look, you screwed up and your family is suffering because of what you did. And you will live with that for the rest of your life if you don't make it right. And this is my experience, and I will never get over it. And I loved the he wanted sand. You think about American kids, we play in sandboxes constantly. We go to the beach constantly. Sand is fun to play with, The kid on Mars who's never even seen it, never touched it, never experienced it, that would be a rare thing. And the show did it absolutely beautifully. But yes, it's just, Alex is not going to bullshit. He is not going to soften it. He's not going to make anybody feel better. He's going to say, look, I made mistakes. You're making a mistake right now. Yes, you made a mistake, but you're in a position where you can fix it. and I will never have that opportunity. So step up and to Basia, it's more like man up and
Was he like that in the book? Because on the show, it felt like he was a bit more, sort of kind with her, not giving tough talk. It seemed he was more trying to guide her and.
Yeah, don't wait.
Even with Basia, it was tough love. It wasn't like you're an asshole, you screwed up and everything is, ruined. But it was very much like I relate exactly to what you're going through, and here's how it affected me, and and it wasn't everything will be okay. Your daughter loves you. She'll always love you. It was like, no, it was still delivered kindly. Yes, but
this is what life is. It's not too late for you. He says it's too late for himself. I'm not convinced it's too late for him and his son. I'm not convinced of that.
Yeah.
He might be convinced of it. And maybe it is true, but I don't know. I would really like to see something come of that in a later season. Shut up, Courtney. Just shut up, Courtney. I see you over there vibrating.
I didn't say a word.
I know, but I can read you, man. I can read you.
Maybe yes, maybe no. We'll see how it turns out.
And what I did really like, and this sort of goes, reaching back to the beginning of the season, what I really liked is his relationship with it's Lucia, right?
Yes.
Lucia.
What I like is that, initially he's, doing the, flirting thing. He's like, hey, I like this girl. But what's great about him is that, the second he finds out that, she's married, his relationship with her for the rest of the season is one of trying to help her with her family and to, reconnect and, and I just love that for him, it's like an instant switch. It's, it's like he completely dropped sort of a romantic interest with her, as soon as he recognized that she had family and, and that's part of it, I think, why I like Alex so much. He's a good guy.
Alex is a good guy, man. He's
who wouldn't try it? She's a fox, but once he saw the husband, he was like, all right, cool.
But Alex is an honorable guy, and once he saw that she was having, difficulty with her family, well, that was very relatable to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he stopped seeing her as, just a pretty face and started relating to the human.
Right.
Yeah. Typical family with a teenage daughter. Just dead set to leave home. Hashtag relatable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
And yes, Bernie, you are correct. She was not hard to look at. And yes, she was a very good actress as well. I approve. There were not, I know it's shot in Vancouver, but it's a major television production. They're not going to have bad looking people on. Just not going to happen.
In their defense, LV was supposed to be a super young hottie, and they made her a relatable woman who, she's attractive, but
sure.
she was supposed to be and they did not go that route. They did not take full advantage of that. And they really could have, because television is a visual medium, and they did not. So, it makes, for me, the transition from Basia to Lucia much more palatable, because I didn't feel like, oh, they're just any excuse to get, more eye candy on the show. They didn't do it. They could have.
They had
now.
There is plenty.
Right. Plenty to go around. And LV, the thing about LV's character is most of her dialogue, even in the books, it's all internal. She has this internal monologue. She's the scientist. She's got this brain that is just continually continually focusing on tasks and the next task and how everything is working, what is causing the problem with the blindness, what is causing, the situation with the planet turning itself on. She's constantly thinking about that and how all these things are related. So she is very much in her head quite a bit. And so for her to have like the crush that she has in the books, it wouldn't translate very well because she's not a verbal character, and you don't have the thought bubbles up on your head on television. So you could, but this isn't animated. So for them not going that route made perfect sense because there was really no way to emote that without changing her character quite a bit.
Right.
They also didn't make her like your stereotypical, like they didn't go with the stereotype for a hyper educated scientist. They didn't go with like, an older woman with glasses where, they made her a brilliant, powerful woman, but they also made her, on the younger side and a minority. And, they didn't stereotype her. And I love that. I actually I'm happier with her character on the show.
Right.
I really, and especially in the back half of the season, really liked what Dr. Okoye went through to get to the end of this season. I found it really fascinating. And again, haven't read the books, just watching the television show, but I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
They totally made it work. And I like, without all of the introversion that I was so charmed by in the inner monologues, like this show keeps impressing me with their ability to translate from one medium to the next.
Well, they clearly have people who understand both media really well.
Well, having the authors on board and intimately involved.
But having somebody who is a television producer
because
running the show.
Just having the authors on board is not, an automatic recipe for success, because you do need those people who know how to translate it well to television.
Yeah, didn't they say, I've heard that when they first put Game of Thrones, the pilot was supposed to they really thought that D&D really thought that GRRM's writing was so amazing that all they had to do was make the lines from the book into script and that it would work. And, it didn't. The pilot was a flop. We've never even seen it. They had to find ways to translate it into this visual medium. And
especially since characters like Sansa, once again, all up in their head, all of her internal dialogue. That's the character, and it's hard to translate onto screen.
It's incredibly difficult, and yet this show has found a balance for me where, I as super book nerd, really still love watching this show.
Right. So anybody else got anything else? Anyone have anything else to say about episode 7 specifically? Or we're going to move on to 8?
Let's move on. The one I
we can move on to 8, and then if there's something that feeds back.
Okay, great. Early in 8, we get a scene with Ashford and Drummer standing as a united front against Fred Johnson, and then.
By the way, can I just say, Fred's hair this season was totally unexpected.
Yeah.
Was what, John?
It was totally unexpected.
Unexpected, yes, but I loved it. I thought it made him look 10 years younger.
Yes. And he's lost some weight, too.
Yep.
Got fit.
The actor's pretty good looking.
I was surprised to see him because, he plays a pretty small role as far as screen time this season. And I was happy to see that they went and, and brought the actor in for that, because it would have been easy to, just do all his stuff off screen.
Yeah, I think he literally has this scene and it appears on 1 or 2 transmissions.
A video broadcast.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he may have been doing other things, but
Maybe,
they
but
were able to get him. Yeah.
and he
Well,
was
he
there
will
for what they
continue
needed.
doing other things, like in the
I'm
background.
sure he's Fred
and
Johnson. He might
They
be-
can't let him go.
he might be a fringe character to like the story that we follow, but in the politics of the solar system, he's going to continue to be a powerhouse.
Yeah, he and Dawes,
Exactly.
which we have not seen since
Season-
many seasons ago. 2?
Yep.
Yeah, season 2. I can't wait until Dawes comes back. 'Cause
Mm.
Hopefully he'll come back. Courtney has skeptical looks.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
And again, I know
Fred
that
Johnson, we'll see him back.
I know. And the thing is, Anderson Dawes, as I understand it, TV Dawes is kind of an amalgamation of several characters, so it's tough to say exactly what they're going to do with him.
Well, and plus, regardless of what
He'll be
Courtney-
around.
whatever Courtney may know, the show is its own thing. We got Ashford for an additional season, so
Man,
We did, and they keep making changes, and I'm not disparaging those changes, and in the past I might have disparaged.
I was in love with everything
with this one
with Ashford this season, and I remember the first time that God, I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead, but I can't help it.
Just talk about whatever you want.
But no, just the first time that I watched the last episode, I was so gutted, that we had to say goodbye to him. But watching it the second time, it's just like, man, he goes out like a boss.
That's exactly what I said, John.
Right,
exactly what I said.
Everything, and he just walked straight out, singing, and
he came in like a G and he went out like a G.
Yeah,
right. And just that whole John Wick shootout thing on Marco's ship, where he's just like propels himself through the doorway and just bang, bang, bang,
Yeah, but now we're all the way to the end of.
Great.
How did I totally miss this on the first viewing? But when I was watching it this morning, I'm like, dude, doors and corners.
Doors and corners, exactly. Yeah. Exactly what I was thinking. Yep, they get you on doors and corners. And
yep.
Where was Philip? Right around the corner.
Through a door.
Through a door and a corner.
Yeah.
And what a shock. I was not expecting. Since we broke the trumps on this, so I'm going to go ahead and say I wasn't expecting Philip to show up in this season. I mean, I knew he was mentioned, and that's usually what they do. They see the little, the name, and then you see them maybe in the next season, and then we see him in the very final episode, and I'm like, oh man,
see him twice.
Yeah, twice. We see him twice.
And I didn't exactly catch it.
Possibly three.
I did not catch the first time through watching that was Philip that left the bomb on Mars,
Okay, yeah.
See, I didn't even catch that at all.
Really? Yeah. You only see him for a second as the elevator doors are closing. Bobbie rounds the corner, sees the bomb, the elevator door closes and it explodes and everything shatters. That's Philip in the elevator.
Yes.
That's detail obsessed John. Completely missed it.
Hey man, nobody's perfect. But like that also says something about I can't wait to see what Naomi has to grapple with in the future. Because her son
5 is going to be lit.
I don't know that. Yeah. I mean,
can you even imagine the conflict with like a man who's raised your child to go against everything you have learned to be better? Like, and yet still loving and wanting to help. Like,
when they
teenagers are hard.
When they showed Philip and how he's totally, right there with his father and lockstep and key, and it just made me hate Marco all the more.
Yeah.
Well, he's been completely indoctrinated since birth. He's known nothing else. He is. It's just like being. Well,
and it gives you a window into Naomi at the age that he's at, which is when she fell in love with his father. And you know, how growing up like that could really make you think that you're doing the right thing. And yet, you know, he's old enough that he's a teenager. He thinks like he knows everything and you can't tell him anything. And he
completely idolizes his father, obviously.
Of course he does. Everyone does.
His father's a
Marco's
hero.
a hottie, and he's like
He's
powerful, like he's charismatic, but like, oh, how did they describe him? Like,
and a hero. He thinks of him as a hero, I'm quite sure. I mean,
because everyone around them does as well. I mean, you know, he's that like radical. He's
but again,
actually making moves in defense of the belt. Like,
he's making moves, but he's living in an echo chamber. Philip is, you know, he doesn't have another alternative point of view available to him.
Right.
Yeah. Ashford calls him a nihilist in the guise of a patriot. And I just like, I love that. Because he is so charismatic that people believe, you know, what he's doing is in their best interest. But then he's hiding behind civilians. And
right.
And like, he's not trying to build something better. He's trying to destroy something else, you know?
Yes. He's not giving an alternative. You know? Yeah. It's like this is a bad thing. We must destroy the bad thing. But the bad thing, I mean, what happens next?
Well, he has visions for what happens next. He doesn't have plans for how to implement them, but he's able to talk a good talk about, you know, the belt for the belt, and he, you know, he has a vision, and he's able to sell it.
Right. That's
like
that's his biggest ability, is that he can sell it.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, it's not just Naomi that he can make fall in love with him. Like he can work a crowd.
Just like in his trial, he convinced the other factions. You know, if the other factions if he hadn't been able to sway them, they would have spaced him right then. But he taught, you know, Silver Tongue Devil was able to, you know, talk his way out, press all the right patriotic buttons, and, you know, belt a louda, and it struck a nerve. Yeah,
appealed to their greed to some degree as well.
Well, he knows people. You know, he can read a room. I'm quite sure. You know, who wants what? Who wants this? You know, what does this person want from me right now?
But all of this, like, kind of comes to a head when Fred Johnson does show up, and like, we're so used to seeing Drummer so squarely on his side that punch him in the face, tell him off, and walk the hell out is such a change for her, you know?
It is. They combine her character with some other characters that have beef that goes back.
Her character is very strong and very independent and independently minded. You know, as she says, she's worked for Anderson Dawes. She saw all of his machinations in the belt. She's worked for Fred Johnson, who, you know, he's a good guy, but he's got his own way about doing things.
Right.
So, you know, for her to at the end, you know, say, I've worked for these powerful men before. I don't want to do that anymore.
I'm just going to stay out of politics.
She said she's done with politics, and I think she's just tired of the bullshit, you know?
Tired of the bullshit, yeah.
She's tired of, you know, she doesn't want to fight against her own people for peace with the inner. She's not interested in trying to do all that. It's not in her nature.
Yeah, politics is a very wily beast. You know, you have to compromise sometimes so much of what your beliefs are just to keep the peace. You know, she had to take a lot of crap when the UNN came in and started, as they put, measuring the windows for new curtains.
Right.
You know, and I was like, oh, she didn't slug him, and I'm so surprised that she didn't. But yeah, she's I think she's just had it up to here with politics, you know.
I think she's going to be channeling more and more Michio Pa, who I love, and she's going to become an important player in and of herself. Uh-oh.
Book stuff. I don't know. No, I can hear you, but it's book stuff. I don't know who you're talking about.
We're messing with you, Courtney.
I was like,
I'm checking my mic.
No, it's all good. Like, this might be my favorite Amos episode 2. Episode 8. Sorry, I'm redirecting the conversation back to my favorite character again. Sorry.
It's fine. We haven't gotten to Bobbie yet.
Well,
So.
you know,
and we will.
I haven't even started talking about my guy yet.
I know.
Oh, Miller.
I'm going to go off.
You are going to go off,
Let
buddy.
me just say this about Amos. You know, when he's burning the slugs and like I'm sending a message to the rest of them.
I love that.
And then Holden is like, why don't you let me take that blowtorch? And like, I'm keeping it. With, you know, like he's so focused in, but like, I'm keeping it. And Holden knows, okay, I'm not going to try to take that away from you.
I'm not arguing with him.
Right.
Don't argue with the guy with the blowtorch.
Then there's also the great line, you know, later on after they find a cure for it, and he goes to Amos and he says, well, at least I can say I, you know, took you in a fight. And Amos says, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah. Which is a complete, like, as soon as Holden tells him there's a cure and you're going to be okay, it's almost a complete 180 instantly.
You can see his demeanor just changes almost instantaneously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because his biggest fear is obviously being trapped in the dark.
Yeah. You know, he's underground.
And being blind.
And then going blind. Yeah.
Being trapped in the dark forever.
It's a sign of sort of the type of person he is, that it's like, you know, you might have some characters who, you know, if you have a sort of brother relationship with, you know, someone, you know, you're going to think they're going to figure a way to fix this, that they're going to turn things around. But Amos really, you know, thinks that they're all screwed. And he's honestly surprised that, you know, Holden has found a solution to this.
Yeah, that they're not going to be dead. That they're not all going to be dead by morning.
Right. Hopefully not all going to be dead.
Hopefully. And Amos, this was the second time in this, actually the third time in this season that we've, you know, the subject of suicide has been brought up. You know, first it was with Peaches, you know, and she and Amos had that conversation about him giving her a way out if she couldn't do the prison time. Mm-hmm. And then Lucia's attempt, and Alex and Naomi, you know, pulling her through that. And now this is
that's when Naomi relates about her past. So yeah.
And then now Amos is, you know, he's not wanting to live like he's, you know, he doesn't want to go out like that. And, you know, Holden kind of pulls him back from the brink, which is not an easy thing to do. I mean, you know, this is Amos we're talking about. If he wanted to go out, you know, he could certainly do it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's his, you know, he had already offered that, and, you know, to other people. So his idea of how he wants to go out is, you know, he's going to do it. But this is the third time that it was brought up in the season. So I just thought we should at least mention that. Yeah. Pretty powerful.
With all of these external dangers, sometimes, you know, the real danger is your own mind.
Yeah.
Right.
I just loved watching what he went through and how he was like clearly reliving his worst traumas, and you know, the fact that he even opened up to Way the way he did, it just makes what comes later that much more heartbreaking, I think.
Much more brutal.
Yeah. But yeah, this is also the episode where Ashford has his great age changes you in ways you don't expect line when he's talking with Drummer.
Yeah.
And then of course he talked about not being able to wait to watch Marco go out the airlock, and then she cracks up and says, "I see it hasn't changed you that much."
Doesn't change everything.
Yeah,
doesn't change everything. Yeah.
Yeah, but really, it's Marco who puts him out the airlock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, a little foreshadowing there. Here, you keep the bottle till I get back.
Right.
Oh God, that's a scene. It's like I watch that, and as soon as she looks back at him before he walks out,
that's the moment.
That's the moment you know.
When she looks back and he's just going about it. Yeah, I speak TV well enough to know. I'm like, God, he's gonna die, isn't he? But yeah,
I didn't know that he was only in book 3, so I assumed that maybe his arc would go on for some time. But as soon as I saw that, yeah, it's like, okay, so I guess we got him for one more year. But that's it.
He's just a fascinating character. I just love his whole character arc, and his relationship with Drummer in these last couple of episodes was just so
good.
Touching. So good. It's almost like a father-daughter relationship that I see with them. And in some ways, yeah. Yeah, in some ways. They may butt heads about things and how to do things, and hey, you've all raised daughters here. Maybe not John, but we for the most part have raised daughters, and you just get that headstrong, man. And they think their way is the right way, and you tell them something, from your experience. It's just like, speaking wisdom to the young again, like with Avasarala and Gal, and how you have the wisdom and experience and the youth and enthusiasm, I guess, but a different way of looking at things. So you have the generational difficulties, but they still have such a strong bond now as compared to where they were at the end of in season 3. You're thinking these two are never going to be able to work together again, and then you see season 4, it's like they're like this.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a fantastic dynamic between those two, and I hate to see it gone, but
that's the last we see of Drummer too, is that bottle scene,
Yeah, so, but I feel pretty confident that she'll be back for season 5. I mean, come on.
She will.
I would bet
if
the
they
house
haven't
on
introduced Michio Pai yet, she's coming back, and she's coming back with the best storyline ever. So
yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, she's a fan favorite at this point. Kara G's Drummer.
And she's at a loose end now.
She's great.
And me, the opening credits nerd, they added her name to the opening. So if she was not coming back, I don't think they would have done that this year. So yeah, I have no doubt.
Yeah, it would almost be weird for her to just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
I think what they did was set her free. She was tied. She was tied to Medina Station. She was tied with Fred Johnson. And she's a free agent now, and where is she going to turn up, and what is she going to be involved in? So I think that just her plot arc in season 5 is just going to rock it off. So yeah,
yes,
she doesn't have to sit there and mind the story anymore.
Exactly.
Right. I'm here for it. Everything is really completely changing.
And that actress is fantastic. So I
talking about Kara G.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I want to see her take on Michio Pai's role. I want to see more of her. She's great.
I would like to see her team up with Naomi and go get Naomi's son. That's what I want to see.
Yeah,
that would be cool. Take on Marco. That's what I want to see. So.
As long as that involves kicking his
ass. I haven't read the next book, Courtney. Haven't read ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wait, did somebody say redhead?
We got, I don't know, is jaded redhead in the chat? I can't see.
No, she's not. She's probably sailing a boat somewhere.
Or playing D&D with friends.
Or playing D&D with friends. Kelly, if you watch this later, say hi to me in the comments. So yeah, I don't know that I have much else to say about episode 8. If there is something else, hold on to it for just a second, because we've been going for about an hour, and I'd like to do the mid-roll, if that's all right.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, everybody, this is the time when I remind you to please like the stream. Please subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We talk nerdy stuff every week. Next week, we're going to cover the back half of the first season of The Mandalorian. Unfortunately, Nessie will not be able to join us. You know, Nessie's here every other week because she is chief medical officer as well as being first officer on the ship.
Yeah. Other hat.
Yeah, she's got to go actually, do nursing for real humans who need her. So we take you when we can get you, and we're lucky to have you when we do. So unfortunately, no Nessie next week, but we will have a special guest, Hannah Landstein, the clueless fangirl.
You guys are gonna love her.
If you don't know who that is,
she's great. I can't wait to have her on.
Yeah, if you don't know who that is, she has a YouTube channel she started recently called The Clueless Fangirl. She's done a little bit of Lord of the Rings content, but she is she's done a lot of writing in the past. I've met her at the con a couple of times. Really neat German lady who will be joining us next week to talk about The Mandalorian. And she is a Star Wars and Lord of the Rings lore junkie, so I'm really looking forward to having her. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I love her.
Yeah, you clearly didn't hear me say
I'm
Helen
sorry,
Landstein.
Lady Leaf was talking to me in the chat, and while you were talking, I was talking to her. But I love Helen. Oh,
Yeah. She's going to be on next week with us to talk about Mandalorian. Yes, a very smart lady with she'll have lots of good stuff to say. The week after that is a special stream. We're doing a collaboration with Top Shelf Fandom, where we will be talking about fandom and fan culture, and specifically having some things to say about what makes fan culture unique, distinct, and different from most other subcultures. So I hope you'll join us for that. I'm excited about it. The week after that's the Super Bowl here in the United States, so we will not be streaming that Sunday. I know a lot of you maybe don't care, but some of you do, and it's kind of it's American cultural event. A lot of people who don't care about American football still watch the Super Bowl because commercials and gathering with friends and whatnot. So we will be taking snacks. We will be taking February 2nd off, and then we'll be back after that with I don't know what we've got something on the schedule. I don't have the schedule pulled up, but we have something. I know what it is too.
Oscar Sunday.
Yeah, that is Oscar Sunday, the February the 9th, and we will be doing some Oscar pre-show stuff. John's going to be kind of like holding the reins of that one because he is our resident movie snob,
filmographer.
Right, but so we've got some stuff coming up. I hope to get an I Know That Nerd in soon. It's just not been in the schedule. We're also looking at what's the next show to cover, so hope you guys can stay tuned for all of that stuff. Also, this got to make sure I give my Patreon shout out to my Lord and Lady patrons, of which there is only one. Ridiculous Ed Tollett. The man continues to be the man.
The man.
Legend. Thanks for your continued support, and to the rest of my patrons, I always appreciate you. Thank you so much. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head I need to bring up.
I just, if we can, I want to address a technical issue real quick. A little while ago, you blanked out for a second, Stephen, and It looked like your camera may have switched. Can you close your little thing so we can verify? Okay, it is.
Oh no, you're
what?
right. My camera weirded out on me. You're right. It's using the wrong one.
Just if you exit out, just
yeah. I'll be back in a second. You guys can continue the conversation. Okay, I'll be back in a second.
Okay, Sunflower Beth just asked about next week. So let me recap for her. It will be The Mandalorian with Steven and my friend Helen, who is amazeballs and hilarious and smart and funny, and you should absolutely not miss it. Yes, it will be on this page. And yeah, I hope to make the chat because she's
funny.
smart, and I mean she says exactly what she thinks. She holds no punches, and I find her so funny. Just I love her. She's bright and cheerful and an absolute gem on the calendar. I mean on the camera. She's great. So you should
and
watch her.
One thing I wanted to address is if any of you guys in the chat or who watching the stream later, if there's something that you guys would like to see us cover, whether it be something you're watching, some weird little nerdy fandom corner that you're all into, anything that you'd like to discuss or hear us discuss, please drop us a line. You have all of our Twitter links in the description. We're very open to suggestions. This is your channel just as much as it is ours, and we're here, for you guys. So if there's anything that you would like to discuss or have us discuss, just let us know.
Anna's asking about Witcher, and I know that Steven loves that. John, don't you watch Witcher too?
I just finished it a couple days ago, and
I watched the entire season twice.
Liked it, especially the last.
Should I watch it? Would I like it? I never played the video game or anything.
You don't have to. Neither had I, and it was very enjoyable.
Okay. I mean, I trust your.
Exactly. I think one thing I do tell everybody is that if you're not into the first episode, you stick with it because because for me, episode 2 is when it really started to come alive. Because I think the best character, in the show is she comes into play in episode 2.
You got to be talking about Witcher.
Yeah.
See, Anna was asking if you would ever do a stream about Witcher, and
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet, and it's been
I thought you were into it.
I have not seen it yet. It's been a very crazy January for me, so I have been struggling just to keep up with what we're doing coverage on. But I'm not averse to the idea of doing a Witcher stream, but it would be late February before we got to it, just because we've got so much on the schedule already.
Right.
And
and we're not going to do it on our bye week.
Yeah.
So, but I did ask the guys in the chat and who may be watching later if they have any suggestions to drop us a line in our Twitter, and we consider anything,
right?
Whatever they're interested in.
And I'm not averse to the idea of doing The Witcher, but it would probably be a month at least before we could get to it. It would have to be after the Oscar stream, so that's going to put it February 16th or something at the earliest.
Just wanted to say you look great now, Steven. Much better.
Hey, I always look great. Just
Steven.
my camera is working better.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, when Wheel of Time comes out, I don't care whose channel it's on. I will be doing something with that.
Start your own dang channel, Courtney.
I've been reading those books for so many years, and I don't even know if I'm excited about the series coming out, but I am excited to talk about the books. And if the series brings that publicity, then I will.
Well, any excuse to talk about the books, right, Courtney?
Look, I'm a huge.
Any excuse to lord book knowledge over the rest of it.
Wait,
right? Another thing, we are gonna have Bernie back for the Oscar show as well.
You guys, yes.
I will be hosting it.
We could keep her off if we tried.
Right.
She'd bring the pitchforks and the burning brands if we did. So.
Yep.
And Stephen and I will just sit around and let Bernie and John discuss film and actors and actresses and pop culture, and we'll be doing other things.
Apparently some of my friends have my address and are willing to just pass it out to other people nonchalantly behind my back.
I don't know what that, Courtney?
No.
I don't know what you're talking about, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't, Nessie. I'm sure you have no idea. Okay, so bring you up to speed.
Wait, so they could send you presents, or like so people can stalk you?
John and Nessie sent me a new camera, and I had a slight malfunction with it a second ago, and it wasn't working. But yes, this new webcam right here, which goes all, which is a 1080p camera. They went behind my back and secretly sent me one in the mail, and I even know John. I twisted his arm, and he gave up his source.
Well, that's very sweet. That I would not complain about.
You'd make a terrible spy.
Twisted my arm. More like I'm Mr. Blabbermouth, and you didn't have to really do much to get me to know.
Trying to at least give you some face to save,
He folded like a cheap suit.
He did. But so for those of you, I've been saying that we're trying to get to the new webcam. We got the new webcam, and I have my wonderful co-host to thank. That's something I should have said in the mid-roll.
It's our absolute pleasure, Stephen.
Yes, Stephen. Can't have our captain not looking all spiffy and smart.
Well, I do the best with what I've got. Okay, so are we talking about the Expanse again?
I think we are.
Okay. Does anybody need to say anything else about episode 8 other than a needle in the eye is the most disgusting thing the show has ever shown me?
I'm gonna start off.
I'm glad it wasn't just me. I have a severe eye issue. I mean, I'm a medical person. Okay, right. I can see blood and sweat.
But a needle in the eye,
and he had to do it himself because the doctor was blind. I was cringing. It was so gross.
I can't do eyeballs. That's it. That's my weakness.
Let me take off from there because they find out that the solution is with his cancer treatment,
right?
And let's make note of the fact that that's a call back to his, running around with Miller at
the end of season 1.
At the end of season 1, and what follows this sequence, but the reappearance of Miller. And not just the investigator, but
the real
Miller.
Yes, I was
awesome. Jumping up and down.
Yeah, this is also the episode where we see we really start to feel the death of the Dream of Mars, where we meet Isai's family and we learn his reasons for doing what he does, and then Bobbie's clash with her quasi-boyfriend. I don't even know the character's name.
Well, I mean, you think about it, the universe has now been established to be so large. All it takes is one job, and I will never see you again. It's not like, oh, I got this new job. Great, honey. I'll see you at 5. It's I will literally never see you again.
Yeah. And that's kind of like what happened to Alex's family. He took the same kind of job on an ice hauler and never saw his family again.
I mean, but he asks her to come with him, but she's like, you're not just selling me out, you're selling out Mars. How can you leave when we're at this time of crisis? And
actually, I think it's the opposite view she has. She's like, why are you bothering? Because this is a Martian job. He's gonna go out and he's gonna bring ice back to Mars. And because he even says, I'm coming back and I hope you're still here.
And he kind of calls her out for, she's kind of being the sellout right now, she's out getting hers. Is that, is that how, he's doing something legitimately and she's definitely not, on the right, being a good Martian at this point. So they do have that friction there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it becomes pretty clear that by this point, Bobbie has really. This is probably the lowest point for Bobbie in the series, and also at the very end, the lowest point for Christian.
Yes. And I'm telling you, those two are going to get together. The buddy team is going to ride again. I'm predicting it now. I might be wrong.
Oh, I don't think so.
Yeah, but her timing sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. Well, timing sucks. Yes.
Or is it perfect?
Or is it perfect? Everybody is at a loose end in their story at the very end.
Right.
They can go anywhere.
Exactly like you said, has she been cut loose or has she been granted her freedom? Like now, Avasarala.
Exactly. Has she been granted her freedom? You know, she's not tied down to a desk anymore. She's okay. I'll go up to Luna and do this transition thing and hang out there. Oh, why does she need to get off planet? Courtney, what is there a reason she might, be a good thing for her to be off planet?
No, and it's gonna hurt. Like, I don't even want to spoil that.
Well, at the end, hey, it's not a spoil if at the very last episode, we see imminent disaster.
Right.
I know.
Like we know it's coming.
John.
But Archer's on her. They're fighting. What a horrible.
Yeah, but he's right. He's right about her.
Yes.
Yes.
And again, that's why I say this is her at her, maybe not at her worst, but it's her lowest.
And his voice will stick with her and will carry her through and will help her have that sort of like, what would Arjun do? Voice.
Right.
Can I just, I want to make a quick side note and say that we're eventually just going to have to do an Outlander stream so that I can have it out with Bernie, because I see that once again she's arguing about Frank on that show.
Put it on the list, man.
I think I saw that. No, Jamie's hotter. Jamie's way hotter than Frank. Frank's a cheater. Please. I love those books too. If you want to get me to book nerd,
I haven't read the book, so I'm talking about the show.
Down for that.
I love Frank.
We can do the show if you want, John.
Outlanders, is that the one with Hufflepuffs and Voldemorts and stuff?
No, Outlander's amazing. The books are amazing.
My mom watches that show. I've never seen it,
It's full disclosure, I do have the first 3 books in gorgeous deluxe hardcover editions. I just
read them. What are you waiting for? They're amazing.
Because I have like a million other things to read.
Courtney, I don't know if you've heard, but he's on a YouTube channel now, and he does like a lot of the technical side of it too. Like we found out he can edit, and I'm just like, dude.
I know, it's like I'm gonna have to try and put it off a little bit, because the second Steven has me editing for him, I'm just gonna be like closed off in my room 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm closed off in my room, but with good books. I've read Outlander several times, so let's.
I hear it's good, but like I have zero familiarity with it.
Oh, it's.
I know the guy that played Edmure Tully is on that show.
Yeah,
he's phenomenal.
He is phenomenal. I mean, he plays both of those roles. He's incredible. Which, in
fairness, Bernie is on board with the actor, so I'm being a little unfair there. Okay, let's. Maybe we should veer back to topic.
Right, maybe we should not talk about Outlander. But
it's my fault. I have seen what I'm talking about.
I have seen your votes for Outlander. I will consider watching that show. I will.
Well, if you do,
you guys derailed me from getting all excited about Miller.
Okay? Miller is back.
Yeah.
John, go.
Oh my
God. Go.
It's like first he pops up for a second as the investigator, and you know me. I was like jumping up and down just at that, and then things start going haywire, and then he's screaming all of a sudden, and then it cuts out, and I'm like, what is happening? And then we get into the next episode, and no hat. He's, he's fully himself, and
Got the mohawk back.
Yeah, and we find out that he's been sort of trapped inside while the protomolecule has been in the driver's seat.
Right.
And now he's, got this plan for, taking it out, and, and it's, and him and Holden are on a mission for the episode. And it was just so much fun. I just had a blast watching it. I'm going to go ahead and say this was my favorite episode of the season.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, because again, it called back to the end of season 1 when they're, playing, they were a bit antagonistic towards each other at that point, but it was sort of like a buddy cop movie. And it's the same thing here. And I love just the way Thomas Jane plays Miller, and you really realize there's a different, the different ways he played the investigator in Miller, and it looked like he was having a blast this episode.
Well, for Thomas Jane, what a meaty part to sink your teeth into this season, to play two characters in direct conflict with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But like all in your head, and just crazy.
And I love the way he had to keep it was going back and forth, because the protomolecule would try and take control again, and he'd be like, "Get out of my head!"
Right. And then he talks about the 100,000 voices in his head too. It's not just him in there.
Yeah, he's trying
not just Miller. He's got everybody else in there too.
And none of them are truly at rest. If he, at least not by his. He doesn't feel like they're at rest.
Right. Well, they're screaming and singing and just going crazy in his head and have no outlet. He's the only one that actually has a voice, because he was the protomolecule found him useful.
Oh, if we could get Mom on. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's totally all right. Yes, if we can get Mom on for Outlander. Mom's a huge Outlander fan. I already knew that, though.
I want to talk to Mom about Outlander.
Come on down, Miss Betsy.
I didn't mean to interrupt. You were saying Miller, and the fact that he dies as himself, that he comes full circle, and he is willing to take out his entire civilization of alien life, but do it in his human mental form. And in defense,
is he a human mental form, or is he
not really?
He's kind of an animated pile of junk.
Of him is
he's Miller Bug. Bug.
It's
the fact that his character
not ruined.
It's not. We've been wondering all along, who does he serve? Is he truly Miller, or is he just the protomolecule projecting Miller? And in the end, he is truly the character that we came to love. And he is truly acting in defense of all of the humans that have suffered on behalf of the protomolecule. And he is truly taking out the protomolecule civilization as the Miller that we first met, that
tried to take out.
But he even talks about being motivated by Holden's idealism the same way when he was alive, he was kind of motivated by Julie Mao's idealism.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he's been in Holden's head a lot. Let's face it, he's been in there. He's pushed all the buttons.
Right.
Yeah. And that scene, the Miller Bug scene, I love it. I love the scene in the books. It was absolutely fantastic. And they did a wonderful, wonderful job of him. Now, let's just take a minute that Evie Okoye is the only other person in the universe to have spoken to Miller since his death, okay? And she is talking to this alien bug, and he's like, "Are you Holden's friend?"
I just love, how
and
that's
she just takes it in stride. She doesn't freak out. She's not, am I crazy? She's like, okay, let's do this thing.
She's a great
actor.
I love her.
She was great. And not only is she the only one to talk to Miller, but she's seen the crazy, trippy.
Yes, she is the only human ever to go through that dark, I mean,
The void,
whatever that is. But that's a connection.
I'm probably not going out on a limb to suppose that there's going to be some lasting consequence to that.
Well,
How
she
could there
is
not
the
be, John?
expert going forward. I mean, there's no one else who has that experience. And
Right. That's
Remember
a
when
connection. That's a
Holden?
connection between her and Holden that that he literally can't have with anyone else.
Right. Because they had the conversation where he was discussing how he can feel when they're passing through the ring. He says he can feel the transition every time. Nobody else ever says anything about that, but because he obviously had the connection on the ring in the ring
But
station.
even he viewed it through the perspective of protomolecule technology when he touched the protomolecule technology.
Right.
Evie
it's
is the
similar.
only person who has ever actually been inside that dark space.
Yeah.
And
Right.
the way the dark space is described in the books, it's just a dark space. It's black, it's space. But the way that the show portrayed it, I mean, I think they just made it. They created a visual image that was
the eye of an angry god.
Yes.
The eye of an angry god.
Yes.
It's the eye of Sauron there, John. You know? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that.
What's that? What gave you the impression that I know anything about that?
Just, I don't know, maybe, what's on your hat today?
We gotta get John. Will John be on next week with Helen? I want to see those two.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my God. It's Stephen, really sorry if we derail off of the Mandalorian.
You know me, I'm not afraid to guide it back.
Wait, is it the three of you and Helen?
It'll be me and John and Helen.
Oh, I have to watch that.
Nessie has to work, unfortunately.
I have to watch that. I have to come see that.
Got lives to save.
But yeah, I will say that what I really just loved about this was, as much as I adore the season 2 episode Home, and it is probably my favorite episode of the series personally. Yeah. I'm not saying it's necessarily the best.
Just your favorite.
Objectively speaking, but it is my favorite. And I think that it's a beautiful ending for Miller and Julie. But it does take place, in episode 5 of the season. And, you kind of want your favorite character to have a big end of the season epic send off. And so for me, this episode really checked that box for me and just, gave me that feeling that, Miller, had this big moment that had, a huge impact, and, it was very satisfying. And if we never see him again, then I'll at least be satisfied with that.
Well,
I
when
agree.
he got the Viking funeral, they didn't have a body. But they had that last little remnant that he told them about. There's a bit of the blue goo underneath of the deck. When they got that out, it was kind of like the actual final farewell that they had for Miller.
Did you notice
that? Did I notice?
Did you notice how it appeared to be inert once they cut it out? It wasn't like glowing blue anymore.
No, it was just like a little statue.
Yep. Yeah. And because Miller had shut it down.
That was his every bit of the protomolecule that he was had been physically connected to, except apparently the rings that thankfully they did not blank out. But
well, I think it was everything within the sphere of the circle of the moons.
Yeah. It just took it all out. So the null bomb or whatever.
Yeah, well, Peadar says it was tough getting the real Miller back, only to lose him for good. And then but see, and that's what kind of surprised me, that I didn't feel that way. It's like I was happy to get him back, even if it was just for the short, because his sacrifice here, achieved something. It wasn't in vain, and. And he was able to fulfill his purpose. So I felt that it was a very, an excellent ending for him. And
oh yeah,
and so for me, it's I'm okay with again, if he's gone for good, then I think it's a very good ending.
I tend to agree. There's no perfect way to send him off. It's painful. He's a character who's been with us really since the very beginning. We lost him once, we got him back. We were super excited, middle of season 3, we got him back. Then we get to the end of season 4 and he sacrifices himself again.
Yeah.
But
knowing that he is one of the producer directors for the shows, like, really makes me so happy for that actor. Like, he did not truly lead the show. He is just as
he's the director next season.
I was super excited to see that.
He's staying. Really, I mean, and this is his baby. This is his pet project. Like, I can't wait to see what he does with it, even if his face is not on the screen.
Yeah. Well, it shows a lot of trust that they have in him as understanding what the vision is for the show and what the authors had in mind for, in the books and how to make that work. So that just is a huge compliment to him that he has such a great understanding of where they want to go with the next season. So I'm really, really happy for him. Thomas Jane, yeah. He was like, where's he been for years? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you guys. You were talking about like Miller's funeral, and it was very serious, and I'm over here cracking up because the chat is just
there's
making me laugh so hard right now.
That's all right.
It doesn't count as spoilers if it's in Pig Latin.
Right.
Stop.
I'm sorry. Normally my facial reactions are actually relevant to the conversation, but if you're wondering why I'm over here just hiding my face, it's not at you guys.
Peadar just mentioned, I haven't seen it yet, but I saw something online about it earlier, that there's a blooper reel for season 4 that Amazon put out, so I have to watch that after we.
Yeah, I think I will have to.
Oh, that's got to be good. Yeah.
But and the sort of funeral scene and the way Holden is able to say goodbye to him, and he thanks him and says, you got us this far, if we have a chance, it's thanks to you. And it's that really great way of again, if this is it for Miller, it's it's a very elegant handoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an excellent send off.
Yeah, I haven't seen they're talking about the blooper reel now. Yeah, I haven't seen it either, but I need to.
And your mom is trolling the chat. Like, I'm sorry. I'll focus back on the conversation.
No, that's all right.
I love the people that turn out for us. We have amazing.
I
the
do
people
this.
Who are here right now are awesome.
The chat is the huge reason why I do this. I know I don't always get to respond. I'm trying to pay attention to what you guys are saying so I can keep up with that conversation. But I'm constantly watching the chat and
I get distracted.
Yeah, I do too. There's really smart, great people in the chat.
Yes. Definitely.
Oh, Bernie is posting a link to the bloopers for those that care.
Thanks, Bernie.
Just posted a link to the bloopers
I'll have to
in the
check
chat.
that out later. That I won't let myself get diverted by. I'm still here.
Yeah. So it's on the screen. Nobody's going to type that, but
So I really was not aware.
Okay, we've literally just lost all the people that we love in the chat because they're off watching that right now, just so you know.
So naturally, I'm completely unaware of anything that happened in episode 9 that wasn't related to Miller, but would you guys like to talk about?
Yes. Amos and Way make me cry.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I know.
I
so wanted him to have something,
I did too, but like at least he made it quick. He made it quick and clean. He did make it quick and clean. And
not for him.
Do what?
I said, not for him.
No, not for him.
Says,
But for her,
and F Mercury for using her like bait. You know, that's all she was. She was bait to draw Amos out so that he could get the drop on him. And
no, he totally did.
F M.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope he ends up in the same prison that Jules Pierre Mao and maybe a few
but
others.
Again, I really enjoyed watching his character, even as despicable as he was. So,
yeah, he was a wonderful,
great to watch,
antagonist. You know, great antagonist, and that scene with your boy Amos and Mercury finally get their moment alone together. Yeah. It's going to be
and
a bloody smile.
And just jumping ahead ever so slightly to episode 10, we'll get, just because it ties to that same thing. When Holden comes back to find Amos, he's laying with his head on way, like laying there waiting to die, but like he is with her still. It's a nice little touch that shows that Amos really did care. He just cared about his brother even more. And he knew who she was the same way she knew who he was. You know, they're killers and they got blood in their hands and it's always somebody else getting rich. And he clearly really liked her. But, you know, that's his brother now.
She wasn't family.
Right. Not yet, not yet.
And the choice was family, and no, she won't be.
It was a lot clearer in the books that like Mercury set her there as
bait.
Yeah,
bait. Yeah.
I mean that he set the whole thing up. You know, in the show, she asked, you know, if someone has to kill him, like let it be me. And so you feel like she has a little more ownership over her fate, but in the books, you know, she just follows orders and Mercury gives her the order.
That's the problem with being a company man, if you will. You know, just following orders has been something people have said to cover up war crimes since the idea of war crimes existed, you know.
Yeah, since two monkeys picked up a stick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, she tries to talk to him. She tries to convince him, "Hey, this is you can be in on it too. All you have to do is sacrifice, you know, your buddy, your brother. You know, I mean, who was he? Yeah, he's like, mm-mm.
He says, "I've never lied to you."
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to put myself in Amos's shoes, and I'm like, you're gonna kill John, but I get the hot girl and the money. I'm thinking about it. I haven't made up my mind yet.
I think we know the honest answer, though.
Oh, come on, guys.
Do we, though? Do we?
Would you really sell out your boy like that?
Never.
I mean, Stephen, you may be chaotic, but you are good.
I thought the natural answer was that he'd choose me.
Of course. I can be bought, but the price is higher than that. I'm just saying.
Chaotic.
Nessie, I'd shoot the girl.
Chaotic good. You got it, Nessie. Chaotic good.
Chaotic good. Chaotic, yes, but good.
But good.
But good.
Anything else in episode 9 we need to talk about? Actually, there are 2 things that I need to make sure that I talk about. One is very brief, so I'll just say Miller. It's when it's Miller and Okoye, and he's, you know, she says something to that. Is that really you? And he says, either that or I'm acing this Turing test.
Yes, I love it.
Which to me is just like a huge. For those of you that don't know what the Turing test is, it is a way to determine how successful an artificial intelligence is, and it's basically, can it pass for human? And it's named for Alan Turing. And if you don't know who that is, I'm not going to go into it here, but he was a hero of the United Kingdom in World War II through his code breaking skills. And he was done really dirty in the back half of his life by the country that he saved. Look up Alan Turing.
If anybody doesn't know who he is, there's a really good film called The Imitation Game. You can see which,
Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah.
Very good.
No, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh, right. Eddie Redmayne was in something else.
I'll watch it just for that.
I think he played Alan.
Now, I'm not just pushing that because Keira Knightley is in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually a really, really good story. And really sad what happened to him afterwards.
Yeah.
But shout out to the Turing test, which makes me go, is he an AI of some kind? I don't know. But this is also like where we get Murtry like preaching about expansionism to Holden. We get that, the whole like, you're the guy, come back when they build a post office. But like, he's also got a very sort of grim like resignation to the fact that it just has to be that way.
Has to be that way.
And it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be that way, because people came in and shot up a bunch of stuff, and like, yes, eventually post offices and railroad came along, but like, it wasn't empty when they got there. There were already people living there who were living good, peaceful lives. Isn't
there a line in this series where I don't know what episode, where it's like the new world? Well, I mean, new to us, but otherwise it's as old as ours. Like, I found that, my
that's really
American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Bernie distract me by mentioning Matthew Good.
Oh God!
All you have to do is say Matthew Good to summon her.
Yeah. It's this whole group chat joke thing, but Bernie, we love you.
Which is hilarious because
there he is. Justin Thomas. Hello, friend. During our mid-roll, we shouted out the fact that we're Top Shelf Fandom and Here Be Dragons will be doing a collab. It's good to see you, buddy.
Which I cannot wait to do that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yep. Here Be Fandom.
Yep. There you go.
Here Be Fandom.
Or Top Shelf Dragons. Either one works, I think.
Either one works. I mean, Top Shelf Dragons.
Right. Not these like...
run of the mill.
No off the rack dragons here. Okay. Does anybody need to say anything else about season or about episode 9, or are we ready to hit the craziness that is episode 10?
Let's do it, buddy.
Okay. Now, Elvia Okoye done seen some shit now.
Mm-hmm.
She done seen the light.
Yep. But
she's touched the other side.
But that is the thing that she does what she does. Miller does what he does. We lose Miller, but hey, physics works again for whatever, Nice to know that we can predict how stuff is going to work again because fusion is back online. And
yes, and we're not going to all die. They're not going to die in a horrible death burning in the atmosphere.
Right.
And one of my favorite parts is just Alex, getting on the communists, like, to the, I forget the other ships.
Edward Israel.
You and I are about to have a very serious conversation.
Yes.
Well, yeah, Alex,
so good.
Alex shines in the season now that he's back on the ship. He's back on the Rossi, and, he is literally they're literally saving another ship from burning up in the atmosphere by hook or by crook, whatever they have to do. So, we were talking last stream about when is, Alex going to shine. Alex shines when he is with his girl.
Yes.
They are one, hand in fist, and they're just a team. They're a team unto themselves. And he thinks he's thinking outside the box, when they have the issue with the tether line and how they've got to use the rail guns to help stabilize the Rocinante and pull the
which is
Barbacoa.
genius and so grounded in physics and becomes like legend going forward. Like he's like, the pilot
that saved the Barb. Yeah.
By using a rail gun for torque, like
and the ore, not just the people, but the people and the ore. Yeah, which is very key.
Mm-hmm.
So uses physics to fight physics. So now he's legit the best pilot of the, I can't say the system because
I don't know. The show focused a lot more on the ore, and I see why it was important, but like in the books, I felt like they were focused much more on the people. Like the Rocinante is meant to hold a crew of 22 people, right?
Right.
The Barb clearly has more people on it than that. So it was always a question of like, maybe we can save the daughter, but we might not be able to save all the people. So Alex was very much acting in the human best interest more than just like, let's save this natural resource that, has value, and we understand why it has value, but it wasn't quite the same level of compulsion that I felt.
Yeah, but I think we view a sort of separation, but I think to the Belters, they very much view
it was life.
That is the same thing as their lives. So I think the regard they'll hold him in will be the same.
But seeing Lucia like risk the life of her daughter to save the ore, I don't know.
I don't know. It made sense because that's how they sort of viewed it.
I don't see it as risking her daughter because they were always reassuring her every time it came up. We still have time to bring them over if we need to. We still have time to bring them over.
Still bring them over, and they were already on plan to. They had their backup plan to go and start bringing them over. So it was never a question that it would be all or nothing. It's like, okay, if we can't save the ship, we can't save the ship, and rip. But we can get we can save your daughter. We can save the people. For a little while, we can get them over. They'll burn up later with us, but they would at least be together. They would be together.
Right.
So the human factor was so much more than just the monetary value of the ore, but that ore is that's gonna keep the colony.
And the show made me care more about the ore than the books, where I was really just focused on
the people.
And so when the Edward Israel was doing things to like jeopardize those people's lives, it wasn't just trying to take out the ore, it was risking the lives of all of the people on the Barbacoa.
They tried to take out the Rossi with
trying to save, and in their mind it was very much about the ore. In their mind they didn't want the ore to go to the Belters, but I don't know.
The ore was very much
focused on saving human life.
The keeping or losing of the ore had the feel of like who would control Ilus / New Terra going forward.
And that was the perspective of the people on the Edward Prince Israel or whatever it was. Like
Edward Israel.
But the people on the Barb were like humans in peril. And Alex was focused on the human life.
I think you're talking about the books, Courtney, and in the show, they very clearly care about the ore a lot. And not, the Belters do, because this load is going to set up everything else to come. We don't have the resources to mine another load of lithium, but if we can get this out, we're going to get supplies and technology and more people. And So
yeah,
it'll be a
they
viable
equate it with
quality.
very survival. So
right.
Yeah. If the ore fails, they all might as well just go up and go up the well
Right.
and
then they had nowhere to go.
they had nowhere to go.
Yeah, I think it just really sucks that Lucia got knocked into space and Naomi couldn't quite save her, and
It was a horrible, horrible fate, but she
Really?
went out. She went out trying to,
Yeah.
save the rest of them.
So how do we feel about that? Because I am somewhat conflicted about them sort of just turning Lucia loose.
Well, it's that whole frontier justice thing, Stephen.
Yeah.
When there's no courts, there's no laws.
But they're bringing Murtry in. Granted, Murtry is far, far worse.
Yes, but there were different intentions. I mean,
I understand that, but isn't that what
didn't intend to hurt anybody? And Murtry had the absolute intention of hurting people.
Well,
and I think they wanted to give her a chance at redemption, and I think they.
I understand all of those points, but it's a little bit, too, or not too, but a little bit double standard. To
it totally is.
To want to force,
and the show made it even more palatable because they made her like beautiful mom who just wanted what was best for her family, as opposed to Basia, who's like very angry at the institution.
Right.
I mean,
because if you're going
it's hard,
At the end of the day, Stephen, it's because Naomi,
it's because Naomi.
Holden, it all comes down to the personal connection, because I think he was, he wasn't probably going to feel good about it, but he was prepared just to have her go back to face justice as well. But it's because she she talks about her having the chance to redeem herself, and the fact that she wishes Lucia would have that opportunity, and so Holden does it for her.
Yeah.
Right.
But at the end of the day,
the idea that everybody is going to be held accountable for the wrongs that they perpetrated, except for Lucia. And I understand all the points you're making. I just think that is not fair and balanced, so to speak, and I'm not the only one that thinks so. At least Jess agrees with me, which is why she's getting all highlighted right now.
For the love of God, do not use that slogan in the context.
Well, it may be that the Illins have their own form of justice that they'll mete out on her themselves, because her actions and the actions of the consequences.
Your audio.
Nessie, something happened to your microphone. Oh, shit. Well, we can hear you, but your voice became very robotic and thin.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
I mean, we can hear you, but you sound like a droid. You really do. But ooh, that's a really good question. Joe S. Hi, Joe. I don't recognize you, but welcome. But you have a really great question. Does anybody think Lucia's fate is foreshadowing how Philip will be treated in season 5? I think that's a really good question. And it is, except that Philip is kind of given in to that extremist point of view in a way that Lucia, at least on the show, never was.
But he's a child, sort of, kind of.
Is he?
I don't know. I mean, it's a group.
He is a child.
It's a gray area.
Right. But I think it's worth considering, and it could be, and it very well could be the type of thing that is in the cards for Philip. It's going to depend on who catches up with Marco and Philip first, to be honest with you.
Right. And let's hope it's Naomi and Drummer.
Let's hope so. Justin's got a good question. What do you guys believe is the best, or more accurately, I guess, what season have you personally enjoyed the most so far? Season 3 for me. Season 3 is my favorite so far.
I've got to go with 4. I
Okay.
really have loved this season. I've loved Bobbie's arc in this season and her character development. She's my favorite. So I think she got a lot of great moments in this season, and she's really just developing so well. So I've got to go with 4.
Okay.
Plus, everything is gorgeous.
I think I might agree with you because everything is gorgeous. Like, this has deviated from the books the most as far as the seasons have gone, but yet, like, it is just so visually stunning, and there's so much going on. And I don't know, I'm sure I'm biased by the fact that, like, every season for me seems like the best because it builds on what I know is to come. So all of that anticipation is built into this season for me in a way that if I were to go rewatch the others, it's not
the same. I got you.
Yeah.
How about you, John?
Well, I guess I should break this up into 2 groups. I think the best season is probably this one. But as for my favorite, I'd probably say season 2. Because, obviously I'm going to love the
favorite episode
in the beginning of the season. But I also really love Bobbie's story in season 2. And I love the stuff with, God, it's been a couple seasons ago. So I'm, even though it hasn't been that long for me, obviously. But I'm trying to remember names of past characters now.
Which one?
Who was the one who was working with Mao?
Sadavir Wright.
Aaron Wright. I loved, his character. I didn't love him. He's an ass, but I thought he was extremely interesting, and I love the way it culminated. With when you had Bobbie, Avasarala, and who's the other part of the triumvirate from season 2?
The bobblehead.
The 3 of them. There was Avasarala, Bobbie, and
Kotiar.
When they're on Mao's ship, and then and then there's that big climax where it devolves into a shootout.
And the Razorback. Yeah.
That's the beginning of season 3. But no, I just thought that character-wise, and again, Bobbie's story, it's funny because the season started off and I worried that I wasn't really going to care for her because she was just very, narrow-minded in terms of, she was, a true blue, Martian Marine, and but she developed so much throughout the season, and I really enjoyed that year, and I thought that it was extremely interesting. So that's probably my favorite, I'd say.
Right on.
That's why her story, I think, means so much now, because she went through so much then to achieve peace or to achieve the survival of everyone, and then to be so shunned and have everyone that she Mars basically turns her back on her and spits on her, that that just makes this season so much I don't want to say better, but I think in her plot line it makes it so much better, because she's seeing the rose-colored glasses are well and truly off. So she's starting to think for herself, do for herself, and not just what she's been. She's free. I think she's free now, as well, from Mars. She always had ties there with her loyalties, but now I think she's free to do what she thinks is right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we've been going over 2 hours now, and we're not even all the way through episode 10. So
I know, and you
as much
guys
as
know
I'm
my bladder has a
enjoying,
limit.
as much as I'm enjoying these like side questions, I am going to focus the conversation back on, the end of the season here. Let's just make sure we talk about anything we have to make sure that we cover. Oh my gosh, Justin, you haven't seen season 4 yet? What are you doing here? We're spoiling everything.
Some people don't hate spoilers, guys.
I guess. Weird people.
Yes, those people are freaks.
Anyway.
Well, I like how all the characters are just set up on this cliffhanger. They're all just at loose ends for the most part.
Not everybody, because Ashford's not left on a cliffhanger.
He's floating free.
Yeah, but oh god,
somebody's gonna find him. Somebody's gonna find him.
Or he's broadcasting.
Well, he sent out, the recording.
He's got the recording, and Drummer's gonna find him, and she's gonna be hot.
Yeah.
And for me, him sending out that recording is like for me, in the Game of Thrones television series where Ned is able to, essentially save one of his daughters before he is executed, by letting Yoren, know that she's there. It's that little victory, before you're royally screwed up. And so I was relieved to see that he got that off,
Oh yeah.
But
yeah,
it's such an emotional scene.
The answer to your question is yes. We're all upset
about it.
Yes, the show made me fall in love with him, and now I'm very sad he's gone.
Yeah, and David Strathairn, who plays him, is such a great character actor too.
Yes, I love him.
So good.
Have you guys seen Good Night and Good Luck?
Yes.
It's the film he did about Edward R. Yeah, it's a great film. It came out. It was a while ago. I'm trying to remember. 2005.
Oh wow! Yeah,
but it's an excellent film.
Yeah.
Yes, Peadar, I do remember. I do remember Avasarala on the roof with her grandson looking at the shooting stars from literally from
Absolutely. Absolutely, Peadar. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where I was reading one of my notes and I wanted to make sure
if you say it in Pig Latin, it's not a spoiler.
Right.
We discovered that in the chat.
Oilers spay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, things are really set up at the final episode for a lot of things to break loose. Let's just say.
Yeah. I mean, Bobbie's in a spot.
Effing Inaro. I hate him.
Yes. But the thing is, his plan is really kind of brilliant.
We hate him, but can you kind of see the appeal? And now that we are at the end, can I finally say that, in the books, when he's pitching his entire plan to the leaders of the Belt, he actually draws as a reference on the Afghan people and how they revolutionized the entire idea of what war meant, where, for centuries, people thought war was holding territory. And they didn't care about territory. They would just disappear into the mountains. And, as long as they kept their plan alive and they kept their people alive, it didn't matter whether we hold the capital city, right? And so Marco actually thinks about this when he thinks about just dissolving into space and how, you can take a station, you can take a planet. It doesn't mean anything. So we can hit you hard where you live because you care about where you live. But we don't own anything. We will literally dissolve into outer space. And as long as our plan stays alive, you can't hurt us. And it just, the way that he like hides behind civilians on that ship, the way that he just melts off into space, like it brings historical parallels and even current political parallels on into this sphere where we're watching this like political drama play out. And I don't know, it makes these novels so relevant to me.
Okay, we get it. You like the books already, Courtney.
Yeah, I get it.
I love you, sister. I do, but I'm sorry. The opening was there, and I took my shot.
Fair enough.
See, we need to find out what books you haven't read, Courtney, so that we can read them and totally troll you.
Oh my God, Green Eggs and Ham.
I've probably read that. You do know I'm a teacher, right?
Yeah, I know. You probably read that more than anybody, the rest of us.
And could name every sight word in it.
Right.
We'll find something, Courtney. We'll find something.
You know what? We're going to go behind your back, find a book, read it, and not tell you what it is.
Oh,
have you read it?
I want in on the fun. Why do you want to exclude me?
So that we can lord our book knowledge over you. Power.
Okay.
Just the one last thing that I need to make sure that I say is that I don't want to beat the shit out of you if you're gimpy. Might be my favorite line from the whole season. It's just
this is pretty good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Stephen.
That's it. I don't want to beat the shit out of you if you're gimpy. What a freaking line.
And then he punches him and he's like,
thank you.
He's so happy.
So crazy eyes.
Which
that's all I needed, dude. It's your ass now.
Somebody in the chat asked earlier, do we think that Mercury is dead now or just got slugged?
No.
Oh, no. No.
Holden told him not to kill him.
Yeah.
No. He didn't kill him.
He's probably in a world of hurt.
He beat his ass.
He might be missing a few digits that have to be regrown.
Right. Or some teeth or
some teeth.
But we know the Rossi has a great medical bay,
Yeah.
A world of hurt can be drawn out.
And, for somebody like Amos, for Mercury to end up in prison or confined in a dark space for the rest of his natural life would be, why kill him and let him have the easy way out? Let this guy suffer.
He does want to kill him, though, because Holden says, don't kill him. And
don't kill him.
Right.
So
he has it coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he wanted to kill him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think Amos killed him. I think because Holden told him not to,
Yeah.
And I do want to address, Peadar says, I hope it's an Irishman that they pronounce Canal to right in season 5.
Stop.
The lad that did the audiobooks annoyed me with his pronunciation. I know it's Connacht, or something very close to that, but I, couldn't resist a good troll on Peadar. Canugit.
Now I'm curious what the correct pronunciation is. I don't even know.
Okay. As an American, the closest that I'm probably going to get is Connacht.
Connacht.
Yeah.
Connacht.
Mm-hmm.
Connacht.
Peadar
will tell us how wrong we are. I will go wiki that later.
Good to see you, John St. Baptiste. Thanks for stopping by. I get it. Well, work demands. Nice to see you, though.
Yeah, good to see you, John.
Yeah, okay. He's saying Connacht.
Connacht.
Yeah, but maybe I'm putting a little bit too much like German spin on it with the noises. But
yeah, you don't do the yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this is not linguistics class either. So, but I hope they get it right. I hope they get it right, Peadar. I'm sure they will, though. I'm sure they're going to have somebody. who knows
They
how.
have language specialists on the team. I'm sure they will get it right.
Right.
Yeah, they totally do. When they do the belter thing, like they actually try to get the pronunciation right when they derive a word from a certain language. Like, I'm so impressed by that.
Oh, he says I nailed it, by the way.
Oh,
Nice.
Yay.
good work.
Which, by the way, speaking of accents, can I just say that I went about, probably half the episodes in this season thinking the ship is called the Bob.
Oh, the Bob.
The Baba Vicola. The Bob.
Yeah, there is maybe a little bit of that. Well, dropping the R's is actually a pretty common thing to do in English. Dropping or softening the R's, And belter lingo in general tends to drop the end consonants and the end sounds of things. Like they don't protect, they protect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the way that a lot of slang tends to, they have literally compressed language over centuries. And I just, it seems so relevant.
Yeah.
The way that they meld all of these languages together and turn them into believable slang, I just find so relatable.
I've also enjoyed watching how Naomi slips in and out of her belter accent, depending on who she's talking to, and sometimes within the same scene.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And is that right?
Too, because when I go home, my accent comes out so much more than.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a native Texan, and I'm sure I sound like a Texan to other people. To me, I just sound like every other American. But man, get me around my countrified family for a few days. Yeah. I'll be talking more like this. I'll sound more like Alex than Holden. Yeah. So is this right? Does David Peterson do language consulting for The Expanse? Because I had never heard that before.
Is that the fellow that did the languages for?
Yes, he developed Dothraki and Valyrian for Game of Thrones.
I had heard that, but I could be wrong. I think I had heard that and how he helped develop Belter.
I mean, I've heard of some other stuff that he's been involved in, but I don't remember hearing anything about him being on The Expanse. But maybe I'm wrong.
Well, there's quite a the circle of George around The Expanse.
Yes, that's true.
No, there's resources to be had.
Yeah, I'm looking up his credits, and I don't see The Expanse.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not trying to call anybody out, but I did not think he did.
Yeah, I see The 100 and the Shannara Chronicles, and he worked on The Witcher.
Yeah. Oh. and he's going to be at Ice and Fire Con this year too.
What?
Yeah.
He's great.
I've
gotten to talk to him.
Yeah, me too. I met him at the first Con of Thrones.
I hate you all.
He's such a nice guy.
Are you not coming to Ice and Fire Con, Ness?
I can't come to Ice and Fire Con too.
But Nessie.
I know I want to. All my friends are going to be there.
You could drive with me and Eliana.
Quite a bit of my friends are going to be there. But no, I'm squirreling away my time off. I'm currently on vacation right now, believe it or not. I have a week off I've taken a week off of work. My kids are home from Alaska, and I'm ignoring them to be in here with you guys, but which is fine because I've had them for 2 days and I need a little space. But yeah, I took a week's vacation.
Well, they're not babies.
They're not babies. And a week off for, Con of Thrones, which I got to go. That's carved in stone.
Right.
So,
we're doing panels.
Oh, if you weren't,
we're doing panels.
So Ice and Fire Con for me is
it's bad enough it's bad enough you're not going to Ice and Fire Con. It would be unacceptable if you didn't come to Con of Thrones.
True that.
No, I've got my room. I've bought my plane tickets. I have my time off from work. I'm going to be there, John.
But
I'm gonna melt in the Florida heat with the rest of you guys.
I know, and here I am. I'm trying to put together a Davos Seaworth cosplay, and I know better than anyone the Florida heat. And I'm like, what am I thinking?
Dude, come on. I'm from Texas. The heat is no different here than it is there, and I'm the guy that wears like a padded wool gambeson Under Armour every year to the con. So.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I am honestly just looking so forward to Ice and Fire Con because, I've told you this before, Stephen. It was really important to me since, I'll get to meet, so many of you guys for the first time this year. And, the great thing about Ice and Fire Con is, I haven't been there, but, it seems to be a really intimate, event. And, and so that's why I wanted to, and meet you guys for the first time instead of the hustle and bustle of
right. I'm looking forward to it
That's
myself.
why I will never miss it. I mean, it's family. It's very, very close knit, and I mean everything else is great and fun, and there's tons of people. But Ice and Fire Con.
Well, Lady Shar and I, who are roommates for life, have made it our personal mission that we will make it to Ice and Fire Con next year. So the two stubborn women have put their heads together. We've made our decision, and this is just going to happen.
I think Eliana and I are pretty much roommates for life too. But
yeah, roommates for life.
Right.
Everybody needs one.
So, guys, is there anything else we need to discuss for the actual show?
I'm not going
predictions. You got any predictions for next season, Stephen? Anything you think
mine would not to see?
Yeah,
you be fair. So I should not do that.
Can't make predictions, Courtney. Sorry, me and John get to make predictions.
I should not make predictions.
I mean, honestly, it's funny because I've been so wrapped up in in sort of I had predictions for season 4, which kind of weren't right because it kind of there was stuff that was quite different from what I expected it to be. But at least after season 3, I had my own ideas of where the story might go. After this season, I really don't have a clue.
Okay, so my predictions then. Avasarala and Bobbie get back together and do something external to the they become outside the normal power structure to try to figure out what's going on with the Martian military. I think that might lead them to Marco Inaros, which is going to be a bridge between the remainder of our crew and to bring them back together. I don't think they'll actually catch up with Marco and Philip next season. And I think that they're actually going to slow burn the rocks hurtling towards Earth. They look like long circuitous routes that have to orbit the sun. I do expect... actually, I don't know what to expect.
Well, I think they're going to pick up... they may be picking up Drummer on the way back through the ring.
And that's
she
the
needs
other...
a ride.
Like, we don't know where she is or what she's doing.
Yeah, we don't. Last we saw her, she was on Medina Station and is quitting her job. Thanks, Peadar.
Yeah, that's really good stuff.
Oh, man. Yeah. So, and see who's left. Will we see Miller again? Who knows?
I doubt it. I actually doubt it.
Yeah.
I
think everything on Mars is going to come to a head.
Here's the thing. I feel like they did this thing on, the show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where they kept bringing back the same actor who died in season 2 in different variations on his role. Like you had like a sort of, something taking control of his body and then like alternate dimension version of him. And so I see them finding multiple ways to bring Miller back in slightly different form.
I kind of hope they don't, though.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. As great as the character as he is, he got a really great send-off
he did.
twice. Are you really going to stretch for a third one? And is it going to have the same feeling? Well, oh, Miller's back. Guess what's going to happen? He's going to save the day at the end. Yeah, it's
I'm
just
curious.
becomes a little bit trite.
I'm curious if Evie is going to have any type of interaction with whatever the dark matter is, or going forward, how that's gonna come into play.
Actually, I did have one theory going into next year, which I hate calling it a theory because I hate theories, because people get upset about theories and when they turn out to be wrong. But we'll call it light speculation. When Dr. Okoye was talking about, being willing to trade places with Holden, and my thought was the fact that she went through the eye, with Miller. I did have the thought that what if, Miller in some form ends up in her head, going forward. And so, I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
It's fine. Spit your balls.
But that said, you're right, Stephen. I think that this was a great ending for Miller, and and so in certain respects, I'd prefer that be it until the show convinces me that it's better to bring it back.
Yeah, so what if Evie is the one with the imaginary friend that nobody can see going forward? She becomes the prophet that Holden was. Who knows?
You're back to being a robot, Nessie.
I think it's about time for me to sign off. I think my internet has done all it's going to do. So, I'm sorry. It's getting late. I'm tired.
And your babies are in town. We should totally let you go out, my love.
Say hi to your kids, especially the one that I've actually met the one time before, which is Caitlin. Say hi to them.
Give her a hug for me.
I will.
And I think it's time to wrap this up anyway, y'all.
Okay, let me just say something before we go. Obviously, this would be better if it was paid promotion, because that would be good for us, but it's not. But I did want to say, since this is our last Expanse stream for now, that I picked up this beauty about a week ago, and I do highly recommend it to people. It's an Expanse art book that you guys might be interested to see. And
I want to see all that.
Got some beautiful
that.
artwork and a lot of behind the scenes, information.
Cool.
So.
Okay, we do not make a cent off this. I'm not that's not a commercial, but that's gorgeous. I totally.
It really is.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely recommend. I was able to get that with Christmas money this year, so I was very happy.
Cool. It looks beautiful. Is there anything else? Because speak now or forever hold your peace.
No, love.
Let me just say I love this season. It was just great watching, and I cannot thank you guys enough for getting me into the show, because it started off, I was enjoying it at the start, and I enjoyed it more as it went on, but it's one of my absolute favorite shows now. And,
I have fallen in love with it too. It's my favorite science fiction show I've ever watched. It's my favorite show that's still going right now. Where does it rank in my top 5? I don't know, but it's probably in my top 5 shows of all time.
Well, for me, it's way up there.
Yeah, it's way up there for all of us, I would imagine. And I'm looking forward to season 5.
Can't
which
wait
is
for
already lined up, and judging by the book plots, is going to be so good.
Yeah, I'm here for it. So, with that being said, guys, thanks for joining me.
thanks for coming by.
To everyone in the chat, thanks for coming by. There was a very lively chat this week. It's a great show. We had a lot of fun chatting about the show and other completely random things, which is half the charm of doing live streams. It's just what pops up in the chat. But yeah, guys, it's been a lot of fun. I'm not sure when we'll get back to talking about the Expanse, but I love this show enough that eventually I'll figure out a reason to talk about it again before season 5 comes out, I hope.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll have to twist our arms.
Right.
Maybe we'll get some character analysis or something.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But so that having been said, come join us next week for the rest of the Mandalorian discussion. We'll be talking about the end of Mandalorian. The week after that is our collaboration with Top Shelf Fandom, where we'll be talking about fan culture. And until then, y'all, I really do appreciate you all coming by. Again, all of our social media links are down in the description. Also, the link to the Patreon is down in the description. We've also got John's blog linked down there now. He's going to be doing more writing.
Thank you.
He's excellent.
Yeah, it's a bit light at the moment, but I am really hoping to do some more stuff on there, get in deep with some analysis on some of my favorite shows and movies. So if you guys would like to stop by, I'd appreciate it, and give some of the stuff I do have on there a read.
Yeah, cool.
Hey, like I never actually, I don't really do the self-promotion thing, but now I'm realizing that this might be the last time that I get to chat with you guys and all of the lovely people in the chat. So I am Courtney Mazza1 on Twitter. I don't really tweet very much, but
she's a Facebook girl.
I run the biggest group for Game of Thrones on Facebook. If you guys want to find me there, it's Game of Thrones Realm of Ice and Fire. But I don't want to never see you again, because we've had a lot of fun.
No, you're one of my favorites. You're one of my favorites.
At some point we're gonna have to get into Dr.
Oh, you guys, I know I'll see. You guys, I totally know. We're friends for life. You're stuck with me. You have no choice. But there have been a lot of cool people. Peadar's been here every single time, and we've had awesome conversations.
Yeah, I know.
And Lady Leaf is amazeballs, and Jess has complimented my books. I want to actually have some connection to these people at some point in my life.
It doesn't have to be the Expanse that I bring you on to talk about.
That's true.
We will find something.
Yes.
We will find some way to get you back, Courtney. We love to have you.
Yeah.
And it won't be long.
Wow.
Roger. Sorry, I can't.
I mean, you guys I'll just chat with. That's not even an issue.
Well, you know where to
I'm
find
not going to miss you guys because you're stuck with me. You're my friends.
So yeah, y'all. Thanks. I'm tired and I need my cigarette, and I need to drink and all the things. It's been a 2.5 hour stream, so rather than drag this out any longer, once again, thanks to everyone. And we will see you next week for The Mandalorian. So until then, peace.
Oh, I'll be in the chat for that.
Be excellent to each other.
Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.